the Holy Ghost saying the storm is about over. As long as he's in control, I know things will work out for me. Can I get a witness in here tonight? Come on, choir, help me sing this tonight. Whatever you do for me, it don't matter now. However, things turn out to be just as long as you're in. I know things will work out for me. But before I leave you, I want to leave this message with you. Oh, your troubles. Your troubles and trials only come. They only come to make you strong. Hey, I reckon that the present sufferings can't be compared to the Lord's glory in you. Thank you, Jesus. This is the part that I like. And if you don't know this tonight, know that all things work together for the good of them who love the Lord. All things. Don't you worry about a thing. They're working together. For the good of
Great evening, everyone, and welcome to the 411 of COVID-19 event here at the Ray of Hope Community Church, where our pastors are the Martin L. Espinosa and co-pastor Reverend Dr. Renita J. Weems. We are very, very excited to be hosting this event on tonight. My name is Eric Cox. I am the outreach coordinator here at Ray of Hope Community Church at 2311 Murfreesboro Pike here in Nashville, Tennessee, 37217. The purpose of the event tonight, is to simply provide information, provide more awareness on COVID-19 and COVID-19 vaccinations. So we simply want to arm you with more information to make healthy decisions, healthy choices, informed choices regarding your health and the health of your family. I am elated to be sitting with our guests for the evening, and that is first Dr. Neely Williams and Russell J. Ackland Sr. with Meharry Medical College. So kicking this off first with Dr. Neely Williams. She is the Director of Education. And we have Russell, who is the vaccine coordinator. So we brought them in here as experts in the field. They see this, they experience this day in and day out, and simply wanted them to come in and share their expertise on the topic. Let's start first with Dr. Williams. So, Dr. Williams, if you would tell us a little bit about your day-to-day role.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the invitation, and thank you for the wonderful work you're doing for your community, for our community here at Ray of Hope. We are excited for all the initiatives that come forth from here. And I am a former student of the Pastor Weems, and certainly I credit much of all the things that I'm able to do in the community from much of the mentoring and training I had from her. I am the Director of Education and Engagement for the Tennessee SEAL Project at Meharry. We have our PI is Dr. Paul Juarez, and there are others that's on the project. It's a team of us that work. And my particular role in this particular project that's funded by NIH is to direct the educational activities across the state of Tennessee. So we have we have the Western region, the Central region, and the East Tennessee region. And we have many things that's going on that are events that's in the community and allowing us to share information to make sure people are equipped to make those decisions that they need to make around this issue of COVID and the vaccine.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Russell, if you'll tell us a little bit about your day-to-day role.
Good evening. Also, thank you all for the invitation. My day-to-day role primarily consists of, we have a on-site vaccination center at Alumni Hall on Meharry's campus. I pretty much make sure logistically everything runs properly, make sure we follow all the guidelines, make sure we don't do anything that's abnormal, and try to make sure everybody is comfortable as possible. I'm also in charge of setting up off-site locations. Like today, we went to Tyson's Chicken in Shelbyville. This past weekend, we were in Jackson at a church in Jackson. So I may be in one location at one moment. I may be in another location in another. My primary day-to-day role is to engage the community to try to set up events and make it optional for someone to have us come in and allow people to come in and get the vaccination.
Beautiful. Thank you, Russell. And thank you both again for joining us tonight. We are excited. Many have been eager for this, to hear your answers to many of these questions that come from the community. So just so you're aware, tonight we will be doing a Q&A session using 4 rounds of questions. So the first round of questions that we'll look at is targeting the top myths around COVID-19. The second round, we will look at the questions from the community, so questions that come from you all watching, those who are local here in Nashville in the community. The third round, we'll focus on an article that spells out 6 reasons Americans are still not getting vaccinated, and have our guests here tackle those reasons. And then the fourth round, we will look at, on August 23rd, Dr. Christina Parks. Dr. Christina Parks covered some information concerning the Delta variant, and just wanted to, in a live setting, cover some questions in regard to those comments that were made. So without further ado, we will jump right into round 1. And real quick, so before we even get into round 1, also this Saturday, so Saturday, September the 25th, we will follow this conversation up, this live 1-hour event, with an on-site vaccination offering to the community. We will be offering through Meharry Medical College, we will be offering the Johnson & Johnson and the Pfizer vaccines. So we'll have some questions about those vaccines tonight as well. Let's go ahead and jump in and get started. So the first round is on the myths. So starting with the number 10 myth. So we'll go from 10 to 1. The first one here is, I don't trust the vaccine because it was rushed. What would you say to that?
Okay, thank you for that question. And I'm going to tell you, I will pretty much stick to the script as it relates to the science of this. I am a community advocate and a community worker. As a minister and as a leader in the community, I have invested myself into trying to interpret the data and the science. But I never come to you as a scientist. I come to you as a community person who is committed to helping her community, our community, in whatever way possible, the many trials that hit us. And COVID is only one of them. And if you know me, you know I've been around as far as HIV, domestic violence, and many other plights in our community. And that is my heart, that's my ministry, that's what I'm called to. So now let's think about this. I don't trust the vaccine because it was rushed. The messenger RNA technology has been underway for 30 years. It's true that it is the first vaccine using the technology, but the science has been studied and well-founded. One of the persons who have committed a lifelong research study to this is a young lady. Her first name, we call her Kizzy. She's at NIH. She's an African-American woman, and she has worked on this virus for about 12 years, 10 to 12 years. So because we are now just seeing it doesn't mean it just happened.
Okay, good response. You want to follow up with that, Russell?
It's funny that we're talking about this while in Shelbyville, I was having a conversation with a young lady that was on the fence about getting the vaccination. So I went at her from a logical standpoint. I went at her from an illogical standpoint. Then I stopped and I said, okay, let me go common sense to her. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go common sense here. Okay, my immediate supervisor is Dr. Smoot, and his immediate supervisor is Dr. Hildrich, who is the president of our institution. We are on a historically black college and university. And I explained to her the purpose of historically black colleges was to allow certain things that we weren't getting from other outlets to be done, to be created, to be established, to be patterned. So then I had to ask her, if both of these men are men of color, why would they purposely allow something to go out that's going to damage or harm the community from a historically black college? I've said I've watched both of these men have their families come in. I've had both of these men have their families come in. So if they're willing to allow their families to participate in this, because obviously they know it's going to save some lives, why would they do something to damage the rest of us? That doesn't, just common sense wise, it doesn't make sense. So, I mean, we can break down how fast it came out. We can break down all of these different parameters. But in the end, will it save a life or will it hurt a life? It's going to save a life.
Thank you for that. Mm-hmm. All right, we'll move on to myth number 9. The vaccine can give me COVID-19.
Okay. As we were kids, we all got chickenpox shots. We all got mumps shots. We all got measles shots, but we still all got chickenpox. We still all got mumps. So the vaccine is not something to cure you or disable the option of these things happening. It's to prevent you from having any harmful outbreaks or any type of severe hospital time. No, the vaccine is not to prevent you from getting COVID. It's only preventing you from having hospital stays or health breakdowns that you normally wouldn't have. It's a defense mechanism.
Good.
And,
Thank you.
and that's what we share in the community when we have people that ask us the same question about COVID-19 and is it a live virus? And the very fact that it does consist of the RNA technology, it is the formulation for how it is a technology that allows a vaccine to be created without having to use even any bit of a live virus in it. So there is no way that that this vaccine gives anyone COVID-19. It just doesn't happen. This vaccine is no different than other vaccines that we've had around for a long time, and we have been using them from year in and year out. Everything from flu shots, from the flu vaccine to the vaccines that our children get when they get a certain age so they can go to school. We know that every child has to have their shot record, and those are usually the vaccines that have been administered to keep children from having smallpox and measles and mumps and the different plights that have plagued our communities and made such an impact that they now don't happen anymore because we have the vaccine for it. And this is just a simple vaccine. It's just a shot.
Thank you for that. All right, we'll move into the next myth, number 8. There are severe side effects. How would you tackle that?
There may be short-term side effects, especially with the second injection. They warned us that 15% of those inoculated may have irritation at the site where the shot was given. 50% may have a headache or chills for a day. But the response that I've had from folks who've had these symptoms has been, Reverend Neely, these are nothing compared to what it felt like when they told me I was positive with COVID-19. So it is just a matter of a momentary discomfort versus a serious impact on your health that we do not know the long-term ramifications for. So please consider carefully before you make your decision.
I can honestly say that I've done at least 100 off-site vaccination events. I haven't gotten one call from one person stating, hey, I had a this, I had a that, I had a this, I had a that. We've vaccinated over 5,000 people at Alumni Hall, and we have yet to have a phone call. Mr. Russell, I had this happen to me, I had that happen to me. Now, the funny thing is, I tell most people at their second shot, be prepared to go back to infancy, and they laugh. And I'm like, because the two things that has been reportedly over and over again reported is a extreme sense of hunger and an extreme sense of fatigue, like I want to go to sleep, like a baby sleep. So usually I tell everybody, you got maybe 4 to 5 hours, and then you're going to get hungry like you did in middle school, and then you're going to go to sleep like you did in 6th grade. And that's all that's going to happen. And I mean, I've been waiting for someone to call me so I can mark it on the calendar and say, okay, today we had our first negative call or feedback, and we haven't had it yet.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for what you're doing in the community. Those 100, you said 100?
At least 100.
At least 100, wow. All right, number 7. So this was definitely my statement prior to getting the vaccine, and that is I have already had COVID-19. I've already had it, so I don't need the vaccine. What is your response to that?
The variants are like updates on your phone. Yeah, you had the iPhone 3, but that technology's old. A new phone has come out with new technology. So the same way I try to explain to everyone that the regular first variant of COVID that everybody was being attacked by, it gave you maybe a 2-week span of letting you know something was wrong. And most people didn't really feel frightened until they lost their sense of taste and smell. Now with this Delta variant, you're not getting those indicators. You have maybe one day you wake up, you go to the hospital. Day 2, they're telling you, get your family affairs in order. Day 3, they're counting your hours. Day 4, they're ready, they're pulling the plug because it's attacking faster than the COVID original variant did. Usually with that first variant, you had about a 10-day to 2-week span where you could tell, okay, something is absolutely wrong with me. With this Delta variant, you're not getting that option. You're waking up and you're feeling a little bad, and then you go to the hospital and they tell you, hey, you were positive. And the next thing you know, you counting down. So if you have an opportunity to protect yourself, why not protect yourself?
And if you've had the COVID-19, it is true that your body has produced some antibodies. And for a period of time, those antibodies will keep you safe from having the virus again. There's no set time for how long that lasts, and it is no set time for when you would need to have a new inoculation of the vaccine. So the recommendation is that 90 days after you've had COVID-19, you should then consider taking the vaccine, because the vaccine will create the antibodies, will help your body create those antibodies that it needs to keep you safe from this virus. And there is much information out there that can really give you the details of how your body works. And I, like I said, not as a scientist do I respond to that. But those antibodies are there like soldiers to fight off that virus when it recognizes it and immediately attacks it. And those that you naturally create are not necessarily going to defend you from this virus, and particularly, as Russell has shared, this new variant. So please consider carefully.
Can I add something to that?
Sure, thank you.
I was explaining to someone on the fence again today, and I kept using the chicken pox shots as an example. We all got chicken pox shots from kindergarten all the way through graduating high school. But I bet we all can remember at some point in time still getting that shot. We still got chicken pox.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere in there. It's not something that's stopping you from getting it. It's something that's preparing your body to deal with it if you do get it.
Mm-hmm.
That was good. Thank you for that. Myth number 6. After I receive the vaccine, I won't need to wash my hands, wear a mask, or socially distance. Who would like to tackle that one first?
Well, you may develop immunity immediately following the inoculation. And studies are still underway to determine whether or not those vaccinations can still be carried or pass the virus on, those that have been inoculated. So the suggestion is follow the simple rules and make sure that not only do you not infect yourself, but that you don't infect others. Because this is love your neighbor time, where we have to recognize that what we do is not only just about our own health, but it's about the health of others. And we're happy to respond one to each one of these for your time's sake, if you like.
Okay, that's fine. I'm watching it myself. And for all those at home, we are vaccinated here on stage as well. For the purposes of the interview and the convenience here, we took our mask off momentarily, but we did enter with mask, and we are following very strict protocol.
Yes.
So thank you. Let's see here. Number 5, pregnant women. This is myth number 5. Pregnant women should not get the vaccine because it causes infertility and miscarriages.
That's false. What was that, Dr. Neely? 2 weeks ago?
Yes.
We did the moms event in Centennial Park.
Absolutely.
And we vaccinated at least 25, 30 moms there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the premise of us being there was to get the moms to understand, hey, you're not just protecting you, but you're protecting you. As Dr. Neely just said, it's about protect my neighbor. Mm-hmm. How do I prevent the person that I care about from getting contracted with the disease? Making sure that I'm taken care of. And this whole notion that it causes infertility or you can't breastfeed after that, there's so many myths and falsehoods that people are just taking and run with instead of going to the source. Because if you go to the source and look anywhere on the internet, it will tell you none of those things are true.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
Well, thank you for that. All right, we'll pitch the next one to Dr. Williams here. So number 4 myth, with the COVID-19 survival rate being so high, I don't need a vaccine.
Most patients will recover. However, we don't know how truly to predict who will get very sick. So additionally, we don't completely understand the long-term issues associated with COVID-19 infection. So make it all the more important that we protect ourselves because we don't know. This is what they call a novel virus, meaning that it has never been happened before, and we have no track records, only the times that we've had during this period. And so there appears to be some long-term effects that are emerging from folks who've had this virus early on last year, and we do not know how far and how long that will last. So the short, it is false, and patients do need to be concerned.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Let's see here. We'll move through this. So number 3, now that we have the vaccine, which I know many probably know the answer to this one, the pandemic will be over soon.
We wish.
The funny part of that is a lot of us don't know, but Tennessee has been a red state not by political affiliation, but by sheer numbers the entire pandemic. Right now, Tennessee is in the top 10 in the country with reported COVID cases still. Someone said the other day, if Tennessee was taken out of the United States and created in the capacity of its own country, it would rank in the top 20 worldwide. That's frightening that Tennessee is, okay, let's look at it from this angle. There are 1.5 million people in Nashville, Tennessee, and we're not even at 25, 30% total vaccinations in Nashville, Tennessee. That's frightening.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for that. All right, number 2 here. Myth number 2, the vaccines permanently alter my DNA.
The messenger RNA is made from DNA, but it does not, and let me reemphasize, does not alter a person's DNA. Therefore, it won't change your genomics. It will not change the way your body is made and your own DNA. That's just a misnomer. And there is science to prove it.
Thank
You won't
for that.
become a mutant. You're not going to glow. You're not going to start levitating.
Not going to grow any extra parts.
Like your superpowers aren't going to kick in. Like none of that stuff's going to happen. It's just not.
No superpowers. I
No
got that.
superpower. I was waiting, but it never happened. I was waiting.
All right. And then number 1, the vaccines were developed to control us through microchips or nanotransducers.
Okay. So I'm joking with my wife one day saying, now that we have these chips in us, every time we go in the grocery store, the alarm's going to go off. Every time we get in the car and we ride too far from the radio station, we don't have to worry about the signal going out. Doesn't happen. It just does not happen. Again, back to my initial statement, people of color don't usually go out with the intent of harming other people of color, because we've been harmed by so many other people in history. The last thing we want to do is cause harm to ourselves. So again, why would 2 men on a historically black college and university's campus put us in a position where we're going to be subjective to something harmful by the government? That doesn't make sense. And then on top of that, why would they subject their own families to that? Now, if these things were true, they would have never brought their children and their grandkids in to get vaccinations. Their aunts, their uncles. Like I get a call today, hey, such and such's aunt's coming through to get a vaccination. Make sure you take care of her. No worries. If we were getting chips and all of this government implantation stuff in us, these people aren't going to buy into that. They like, oh, wait, let me protect my family. But if they're telling their own family to do it, it has to be for a reason.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that. All right, that ends out round 1, which was covering the top 10 myths out there around COVID-19. So before we move into round 2, which round 2 will be focused on the community's questions, just want to quickly plug again that we are here for the 411 on COVID-19 event at Ray of Hope Community Church this coming Saturday, September the 25th, from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. We'll be here at Ray of Hope Community Church, 2311 Murfreesboro Pike, Nashville, Tennessee, 37217, offering on-site vaccinations using the Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson vaccines. We are not asking that you register ahead of time. You simply come in. So we're accepting walk-ins. We will have a registration table set up. We will have a vaccination area set up, and then also a waiting area post-vaccination for your safety. So just want to plug that again. And I am here, Eric Cox, the outreach coordinator for Ray of Hope Community Church, with Dr. Neely Williams and Russell J. Ackland, Sr. from Meharry Medical College. And these are 2 experts in the field who are encountering COVID-19, and are superheroes in the field as well, helping to not only vaccinate, but also educate the community, which is why we're here tonight. So let's get ready for round 2. Round 2's questions come directly from you all in the community. I will kick off first with Dr. Williams on the first one here. All right, so first question is in relation to the event that we have here Saturday. The question is, can I take my second dose at this event if I have already received my first dose elsewhere?
And the answer to that is yes. It is always recommended that you, if you can, go back to the place you had your first dose. But if you are here on Saturday, don't miss that opportunity to get that second dose. You will have had a schedule from that first dose to tell you when that second dose would be due. And so we want you to follow that instruction and get that second dose, finish that task up, so you'll be ready for the booster when it's time.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that. All right, number 2 question here. Which age groups is the vaccine available to?
At present, anybody 12 years old and older. They are waiting on some things from the FDA to allow us to do 11 and under. We keep hearing it's going to be the next couple of weeks when they cut the tape and allow us to do such, but we really don't know. But as of right now, anybody 12 and older can get the vaccination.
Yes.
Perfect. Did you want to say something to that?
And I was just going to say, and we are right on the breast, we right on the crib of being able to break it down. I believe it's 5 to 12.
Right.
But
5 to
that,
11.
yeah, 11. I mean, so we do not. That's not yet completely approved, but it is on the brink of being approved, and we're looking forward to that.
Yes, thank you for that. All right, the third question here. What are the side effects in Hispanic Latino descent?
There has not been any, to my knowledge, that have differentiated from the other side effects that are impacting the African American recipients and other recipients across the world. The side effects are just those simple things that we've talked about already in our discussions, and there have been some other incidents that have been tied to the vaccine, but nothing has been proven to be caused by the vaccine. So we just rest in that, and it seems no difference around ethnicity
All right.
or race.
Thanks so much for that. All right, next question here. Why does the Johnson & Johnson vaccine have so many problems?
It's kind of hard to pinpoint why something is problematic. We're not really sure where their focus or how their attack was to get this pushed out. So it's kind of hard to say, okay, this is the reason, that is the reason. A lot of people are trying to pin it on it's only one dose. So they try to compile so much into one shot that it becomes problematic. But it's kind of hard to say. I mean, it's almost like picking hairs or saying Coke is better than Sprite. So, I mean, it's just really, it's kind of hard to blame or figure out which one has more problems than the other. It's just difficult to say.
Okay. I'll follow up for that. All right, next question here. Will there be a need for a third vaccine for the mutated Delta virus?
There's no evidence at this time that the vaccines that are present today are not effective against the Delta virus. There is a war going on with this Delta variant, and that war, it relates to its very speedy infection, and the number of grams of the virus that it creates is anywhere from 100 to 1,000 times more than the previous one. So we know this is a very potent variant, but these vaccines that we have today, the 3 major ones, are holding. They are being effective against this Delta variant at this time. These mutations will change the game, that's for sure. And that is even more of a reason for us to get a larger percentage of the population vaccinated, because the more people that's not vaccinated, the more likely we'll have a different variant to come up, and stronger it will be.
All right, thank you for that. All right, next question here. What is the suggested resting time once the vaccine is taken?
It just really depends on the person. Do you have any pre-existing conditions? I mean, I got a shot one day and was back at work the next day. So, I mean, it just really depends case to case. Like, some people have to take Tylenol after or before. Some people don't. So I mean, it's just really your body chemistry and your makeup. I would say a lot of stress causes the extra stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're riled up and then your
looking
body
for it.
becomes tight and you stress out. And once I was told as a kid, once you start to stress, your body goes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like understanding that, okay, my personal chemistry may cause me to react a certain way, and his may be different, and his may act a certain way, but that does not mean we're all going to be able to say, okay, you're going to need 16 to 18 hours of downtime after this, da-da-da. It just doesn't happen. So it's really just something that you have to gauge on your own.
Okay, thank you for that. Our next question here. What is the quality of life after taking this vaccine? So quality of life after taking this vaccine.
We have not been able to determine that there's been any diminishing of the quality of life. Gang, this is really just simple. It is just the thing that we need to do to stay healthy. And it does not differentiate. As Russell has shared, you know, if you're looking for something, you're going to find something. So if you're looking for a reason to say that the vaccine has made you sick or is keeping you from going to work or it's changed your quality of life, you can probably pin something on that. But it probably would have been something that would have happened whether or not you had the vaccine or not. So, but as far as evidence, being evident and supported by research that this has caused any decrease in the quality of life, because of taking the vaccine, it just does not simply exist.
Can I add to that?
Sure.
I think Dr. Rawls, one of my teachers in psychology at Fisk, always harped on self-fulfilling prophecy. And sometimes if you believe or you pin something in your head strong enough, long enough, and you put so much energy into it, it becomes a manifestation, just like with anything else. So if in my head, oh man, this is making me this, or this is causing me this, or this is causing me that, then it's going to start causing that. Because your mind starts to, as your mind goes, so the body follows.
Follows.
So if I program my brain to think, okay, now that I got this shot, oh, I'm dragging, oh, my lungs, oh, I can't breathe at night, then that's what's going to happen, because you're programming your mind to think these things into existence.
Okay.
And I know we got to move on, but I do want to say this here, and this is related to the mental health issue related to this virus.
Sure.
You know, I don't want to minimize people's concerns and their worries over this vaccine, because it's real, and everybody has a right to question things that's going on and whether or not it's impactful and will it be safe for me and safe for my children. We had a young lady who was pregnant come to our event at one of our meetings of, I don't know, I've been like you, Russell, I've done so many now that kind of run together. But I remember this young pregnant lady, because I took my mask off. I had another one, but I wanted her to have a cloth mask. And I gave it to her and wrapped it up in her hands and told her, take it home and wash it and wear it every day. She told me she worked at, I believe she said Subway, and that nobody there had to wear their mask anymore. And she was pregnant, and she was very concerned, and she was crying, really, because she did not want to harm her baby by not taking the shot, and she did not want to harm her baby by taking it. And so the education she received that day gave her some peace of mind. And that's what we have to have around this virus, is some peace of mind. We've got to learn a new way of being. It's here. We can't wish it away. We can't deny it that it's here. We can't ignore it and make it go away. It's real. It's here. We have to deal with it, and then we have to live too. So let's take a breath. Let's step back, as the kids said, step back from the edge. And let's not make all of these things into something that they don't have to be.
Thank you for
We got enough trouble. We don't have to borrow any.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, let's see here. Next question is, how long does the vaccine last in the system, so in the body?
It's reported to be that it lasts about 72 hours before it completely rinses through your body. It does its job. I mean, the science of this is actually, you know, if I had to say beautiful, it is beautiful, because it describes to you very clearly how it creates those antibodies, build up that army of protection in your body that's uniquely for you, because it takes in account all of the things that all the health issues you've ever had, everything. It's made for you because it goes into your system and is created from your system. And after it has done that, it washes through your body by taking your drinking of your water and flushes your system. About 72 hours, the vaccine itself is gone. But the work has been left for the work of creating those antibodies, and those antibodies are there, they're in place, and they're ready. See them as an army. They are ready to fight, and that's exactly what they do.
All right, thank you so much for that. Next question here is, will this vaccine affect my medical conditions? So example, diabetes, hypertension, asthma, etc.
Not that we have seen so far. Again, as Dr. Neely states, you may have a breakthrough case of this, a breakthrough case of that, but large scale, there are no statistical findings to support that. Now, someone may say, oh, well, my diabetes is blah, blah, blah now that I got the vaccination. And we don't know if that's you stressing your diabetes to flare up or if it's the actual vaccination. And as she said, the mental health part is important because it is. If your mind controls your whole body and your mind is pumping poison into your body, things will happen. There's no getting around that. But there is large scale, okay, a lady said, well, we still have these breakthrough cases where people are vaccinated and they still get COVID. I said, okay, so we're talking about 10,000 to 100,000 people compared to 5 million, which isn't even a tenth of a tenth of a tenth of a tenth of a tenth. I heard D.L. Hughley say that yesterday. Think about that. 10,000 versus 3 million. That's not even a full percentage. So you can't go off of something, the smallest minute number, and say, oh, that's what's going to be applicable to the large percentage or the large scale of society. It's just not fair. It's not conclusive.
Yep, thank you for that. All right, next question here. Will I be able to donate blood after taking this vaccine?
Absolutely. We in the United States of America have one of the safest blood collection systems in the world. And so you can be reassured if you go to donate blood, when they screen you for your ability to give blood, they will let you know if there's anything that would cause you not to be able to give. And there's been no evidence that having taken this vaccine is anything that has kept anybody from giving. We are having a hard time in America and across the world right now because people aren't giving blood, and the blood supply is very low. So the American Red Cross is very thorough in all its screening efforts, and across the country when we can rely on the blood that has been collected. And you can rely that if they allow you to give, that your blood has been screened appropriately, and you would be able to give. And there's no support for that.
Thank you for that. Let's see here. Last two questions for this round. We'll kick off with this one. Are side effects of the vaccine worse in younger children?
Again, that's something that hasn't been proven yet because we don't have a lot of data on younger children. So let's say 12 isn't necessarily a young child. A young child would be a 8, 9, 7-year-old. They haven't been
Fascinating.
it hasn't been brought to them. They haven't had that in their normal peer group yet. So we don't have any way to gauge, is this messing them up or is this not messing them up? We won't know until those vaccinations become available to that age group.
One of the things about the side effects that came out early was that those folks who have very strong immune systems intact and they take the vaccine, it appears that they may have more symptoms than those who say of my age group, whose immune system has waned because of our years and our age. So that being a factor, we make that a conclusive statement about aging in general, that you may be a younger person with a stronger immune system, such as a child or a young adult, may see more symptoms initially from taking the vaccine. But nevertheless, they are still very short-lived, and it is a very quick discomfort for a long-term solution to a problem.
I mean, it's no different from in the beginning of the pandemic. You weren't seeing school-aged children get COVID. Not until this Delta rolled around did we start seeing so many large numbers of children getting it. So some things we won't know until time progresses.
That's right.
Okay. All right, thank you so much for that. All right, the final question for this round, we'll go this route. Will this affect mothers with newborns or those taking breast milk? And I think this was probably touched on a little bit earlier, but feel free to answer that.
Yes, I'll take that one because today some new research came out, and it appears that pregnant women are more susceptible to the virus. And we are strongly advising pregnant women to speak with their doctors if that's what will give them comfort, but we want them to know to protect their child, they need to take the vaccine. I said to a young lady in a meeting, in an event that we had, I said, if a storm was coming and all you had to protect your children was to bring them close to you, would you do it? She said, of course I would. I said, I can see that. I can see that you would gather your children as close to your breast as you can. I want you to consider that unborn child, that protection you're giving that child by taking the vaccine, because it is a storm. It's a storm in the land, and it's called COVID-19. It is the kryptonite that's breaking our country down and our people. It's misinformation and unvalidated statements that's going forth that's causing people to hesitate to get the simple thing done that they need to do to be well. Now, that's the thing that's hurting us. It is not being supported that the vaccine is hurting our people. But that doubt and that stuff you read on Facebook and that one experience that somebody had that you have no idea what the total things was about that, you know, they tell you of some horrific death of a loved one or something, and you don't know the whole story. That is killing us. And that is only we can do something about that.
Yep. Thank you so much for that. All right, that ends out round two. For those who are just joining in, we are here at Ray of Hope Community Church at 2311 Murfreesboro Pike. We will have an on-site day this coming Saturday, September the 25th. We will be providing through Meharry Medical College 2 vaccinations, so the Johnson & Johnson and the Pfizer vaccinations from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. here at Ray of Hope Community Church. We are accepting walk-ins. You do not have to register beforehand. If you're vaccinated already and you want to bring loved ones out, feel free to do so. If you've already received 1 dose of the vaccine and you want to receive your 2nd dose here, that is also okay. So we will jump into round 3 here. And again, I'm Eric Cox, the outreach coordinator with the Ray of Hope Community Church. And we have next to me, my guest, Dr. Neely Williams, as well as Russell J. Ackland Sr., and they are with Meharry Medical College. So we will jump into
Take a break.
Dot every I got more flaws than a little, and I messed up 1,000 times. I don't always commit. Sometimes I give up way too quick, and then I get tired of trying to run away from who I am to who I want to be. Some days are better than others. I can be up and I'm down, but beyond my mistakes, found in your grace, and this one thing will never change. You still love me, in spite of me. Woo! You still chose me. How can it be? Every scar, every flaw, you see it all. You see it all. You still love me, oh, in spite of me. Of me. I'm I'm stubborn at heart, quick to put up a guard. Do it all by myself, I won't ask for help. Sometimes my mouth is smart, I can be insecure. Counting other people's blessings, never stop to notice what I got. Some days are better than others, I can be up and I'm down. But beyond my mistakes, I'm found in your grace, and this one thing will never change. You still love me. Woo! In spite of me, you still chose me. How can it be? Every scar, every flaw, you see it all, you see it all. You still love me, you still love me. In spite of me, hey, you still chose me. How can it be? Every scar.
All right, we had to take a quick little break here, but we are back for round 3. Again, I'm Eric Cox. I'm the outreach coordinator here at Ray of Hope Community Church, and I am here with our 2 esteemed guests, Dr. Neely Williams and also Russell J. Ackland Sr. with Meharry Medical College. These are experts in the field on the topic of COVID-19. We are here simply to provide information to the community so that you're able to make more informed decisions for your health as well as your family's health. So let's jump into round 3. So round 1 was around the top 10 myths. Round 2 was focused on questions from the community, which we will follow up at the end with additional questions from the community, the live social media audience we have. Thank you for those who are on Facebook or YouTube Live right now. All right, the third round is from an article. It's from Vox.com. The article is titled 6 Reasons Americans Aren't Getting Vaccinated. So I just want to run through the 6 reasons and then get your take on just what you want to say and behind these. So from Vox.com, reason number 1 that Americans are not getting vaccinated is due to lack of access, whether that is real or perceived. So it seems like access seems to be an issue. What would you like to say in regard to that?
As technologically advanced as we are, that's not something that in your head you would think is a viable explanation or excuse. But the truth to the matter is, if you go to East or West Tennessee, you don't have 100 Walmarts. You don't have 100 Walgreens. You don't have 100 CVS's. You don't have these stores at every corner. You don't have these places everywhere. Why? Because we're in a rural area. So I may live here, and there might not be another person 15 minutes for me to drive. So, I mean, some of that is true because there are not accessible things in rural areas that there are in metropolis areas.
Yes.
Or heavily populated areas. So a lot of the times when we're going to, like we went to Jackson and everybody was at the TSU Jackson State game. But the people that did come were like, hey, we've been out here for 3 or 4 months trying to figure out when can we get a vaccination. And in my head, I'm like, huh? You should be able to go down the street and get a vaccination. No, we can't. Because they're saying, like, the people that are having the vaccinations available, they're running through them so fast that people are being put on a wait list. And that wait list may last a month to 6 weeks to 2 months. And that's frightening right now, being in the middle of a pandemic.
Yes, absolutely. So where would you recommend, so for those who are watching in terms of access, even for Nashvillians, and I know others are watching, are joining us other than just Nashville, Tennessee, but in terms of where to find that information, where would you say to go?
I would say go to mmc.edu and just click on to some of the buttons there, and they will feed you to the direction where you need to go. I mean, it's something as simple as if you needed to contact me, and I'll make sure you have all of my contact information, so maybe you can flash this on the screen or share it, whatever the case may be. But if someone is out there and you're a group 5, 10, 15, 20, it doesn't matter the number. It doesn't have to be 100 people to do a vaccination event. That's not what is important. What is important is allowing the public to know, hey, if it's two of us and we need to go get vaccinated, Meharry is a viable and comfortable outlet for us to go and get vaccinations. So if you need to get a vaccination event set up or somebody to come to you, call us. We don't have a problem with going.
And just real quick, I want to make sure everyone caught that. You said it was mmc.edu. Okay, mmc.edu. And then for the purposes of contacting you, do you want to share that contact information now, or do you want to share that more toward the end?
I don't.
For those who are in Nashville, Tennessee, that is.
Really, you could just email me at racklin, RACKLIN, at mmc.edu. It's that simple. My phone is always on. Like you said, I started doing this and I envisioned myself as a hero. My favorite superhero is Batman. And in every Batman cartoon that I've ever watched, every movie I've ever watched, he saves one person every episode. So in my head, I'm trying to save one person every episode. Some of my friends, Russ, what you got up today? Trying to save lives through shots.
All right.
That's right.
And we'll share that again at the end as well, so that contact information. Thank you for that. All right,
we want to make sure that we address this issue to
Sure.
those of you who have loved ones who may not be social media savvy. And they are not people who, there are plenty of people in this world that don't follow social media, even though it is seemingly not true, but it is true. Now, they know people that do. So this is where a lot of information comes. And so we are having to do old-fashioned grassroots engagement to be able to make sure we capture those people who are not able to go to the internet and get that information. Everybody doesn't listen to the evening news, so they don't hear all the news of what's going on with this virus. They only hear what somebody tells them they read on Facebook.
Right.
And so we want to make sure you get the right information, and Meharry Medical College is absolutely the place. And the gateway to Meharry Medical College is TNSEAL, a project that they have hosted that will allow you also to go in depth. Because when you go to MMC, you'll have a link there to go to Tennessee SEAL. And there's a reservoir of much material there that will allow you to get the facts and not get the myths.
Thank you so much for that. All right, reason number 2 here. So we're looking at the article from Vox.com on the 6 reasons Americans aren't getting vaccinated. Number 2 is COVID-19 isn't seen as a threat.
Wow. That is absolutely true, because we have to recognize it's true that to some people it's not seen as a threat. A lot of people have heard that cousin so-and-so or Mr. so-and-so, Miss so-and-so tested positive. And 2-3 weeks later, they hear, oh, they're fine. They hadn't, they're going on. They're not, they're having no results from that. And that can put you into a sense of falsehood about how serious this is. Because it is true, a lot of people don't get real sick from this. As just as true that a lot of people's lives are being lost. And during this period of time, when this virus is taking more lives than ever, we have changed our position. We are no longer closeted. We're no longer inside. We're no longer mandated to do a lot of things that we were doing 6 to 7 months ago. And so we got this false sense that everything is okay now. I can go to the mall. I can go to the movies. Everything is not okay, y'all. Everything is not okay. Look around. This is the question I want you to ask yourself. How many people recently have you heard that you knew have died? Young, middle-aged, older people.
Grade school.
And children. They have died. More than that you knew 6 months ago. And that ought to be telling us something. So we are in a state of fatigue, of overload from hearing about COVID-19. Absolutely, I agree 100%. We have just been worn out by this subject matter. But that does not negate how serious it is. And so we want you to know that, I think the question was, this vaccine, that is not serious. It is very serious. And we want you to know that, There's no reason for all the effort that's been going forth, all the dollars that's being spent, all the commercials you hear about getting your vaccination. Those things would not be happening if this was not a serious matter. And it's serious to your health. And those numbers are real. The number of people that you hear that have died from this virus is real. The frontline worker stories, they are real. Doctors and nurses are just wearing themselves out because they're so tired of seeing people die. So if you really want to know how serious it is, you can find out. And you can start by looking at the people you know.
Can I add to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
As I stated earlier in the conversation, Tennessee has been a red state the entire pandemic. We are still below 40% total vaccination, east to west, north to south in the state. Right now, Tennessee is in the top 5 of reported cases. Right now, today, we're out of the quote-unquote quarantine stage. We're out of the quote-unquote pandemic stage. But the numbers are still this high. It has to be for a reason. Common sense says if this many people are still coming up positive with this disease, something needs to be done to protect myself. And that's simple.
Thank you so much. All right, we have just 3 more here, or 4 more here. We'll get through these the next couple minutes. So reason number 3, vaccine side effects. So reasons Americans are not taking the vaccine is due to the side effects. And I know that you've hit on this already, but if you want, just one of you speak to this quickly and we'll move to the next.
Those side effects are minimal. And I just say that again. It's minimal, the side effects that have been documented as a result of having taken the vaccination are very minimal and very easy to overcome. Consider that against seeing someone having to be unplugged from a ventilator and their family standing outside of a glass window because they can't be inside and them having to die alone versus that cold or that sneeze you had that lasted you less than 24 hours.
Okay. All right, reason number 4 here, lack of trust in the vaccines. Lack of trust in general with government and vaccines, not just this vaccines, but vaccines, period.
I've been having several conversations with my supervisor, boss, Dr. Smoot, and he's been asking me, well, Russell, what is the problem? And I've explained to him that we've plateaued because everybody that wanted the vaccine has gotten it. So now we're dealing with the people on the fence. And most of the people on the fence are being influenced by social media. Social media is 1% of truthful, factual information that can be shared. The same way the FDA and the CDC came out, and now that they are the censors of social media. Listen to that. The FDA is the censor of what can be put out about COVID-19 on social media. Why? Because everybody's agenda doesn't match up the same all the time. And us being people of color and minorities, we don't trust. But one thing we have to start doing is trusting each other. Now, that's the one thing that I can say we've gotten away from when I was a kid to present. We don't trust each other. And there's no way, like I said earlier, there's no way in the world that 2 men of color on a historically black college campus would put something out that would be detrimental to so many people of color across the country. That does not make any sense. So sometimes we got to trust ourselves and trust each other.
Yep. Good follow-up to that. So reason number 5 is a lack of trust in institutions. So some have just lost trust in the CDC. Black people, people of color have lost trust in doctors due to also just mistreatment today by their doctors. Not all doctors, of course, are black or black and brown, if you will. So for them, what would you say to that audience, that group?
Like, one of the biggest fights that I'm having to fight is, well, I can't take it because of the Tuskegee Airmen. And I stop and I say, wait a minute. Those were World War II pilots. What do they have to do with the vaccination? So then in my head, I start to fast forward. and I think, oh, they're talking about the Tuskegee experiments. So then I have to educate them that, wait a second, you are aware that in the Tuskegee experiments, the only unethical thing that happened was they weren't given proper treatment. They were denied medication and sent out into the world and watched like guinea pigs. Nobody ever shot anything into them. Nobody ever fed them anything. They just didn't give it to them and watched them. So if we're basing our mistrust on an experiment that was done by not giving us something, how flawed is that, where here's a situation where they are trying to give us something to save our lives and we're not paying no attention. I mean, it's no different from back in the day when they would say, if you want to keep something from us, put it in a book. Now they're putting it out large scale all across the world and we're not paying no attention. So it can't be both ways. At some point in time, we have to look at the information like Dr. Neely said, find our own opinion, research, talk to people, communicate with those. So then you can build up a center of trust on your primary doctor, your whomever. But if you don't communicate with them, there's no way of doing that.
All right, thank you for that. All right, just so we don't run out of time, we have a lot of good questions coming up. Last one here, reason number 6 from that article, it says a variety of conspiracy theories, meaning that Americans are not getting vaccinated due to the conspiracy theories.
Yes, the transmission of false information has really hurt us, and it began at a high level. It's not just that it was false information that was put out straight from the internet, but it also came from the head. When the leader of this country determined that it was not anything anybody needed to take serious, that just like it came, it's going to disappear, and because that was feeding into his own personal political agenda, it set us off on a path to be in a very negative place. And so that has caused us to have the generation of a lot of conspiracy ideology, folks coming from the left field. There are people with many degrees that you are not saying that everybody that gives some false information is uneducated and illiterate. No, they are educated people who have also spurted some of these false ideas. But the tragedy of all of this is that we're just not using basic common sense. And I just take that grandmama position now to say to people, listen, just do this. Let's stop about this and just think about it.
For a second.
We have navigated our existence for more than 400 years, and we have been against systems that were not made friendly for us. I say to people, the banking system was never made friendly for us, but we're still buying houses and cars. The medical system is not necessarily friendly toward us. Many of us who have long-term chronic pain, we get treated suspect, like we are drug seekers when we go to the doctor. We get into the place where we're almost afraid to say we're hurting. And that's unfortunate. And some of us are not taken serious when you go in with your complaints because of how your skin looks or how your social workplace in the world may be. These are things that's not friendly toward us, and that's a fact. But go back to what has brought you to this far and know that you can be guided on the things that you need to have guidance on by a power that's greater than ourselves. I said to the young ladies tonight when I got here after running late, I said to them, I gave up on Redfordville Road and said, Holy Spirit, you got to take me to this church. And I promise you that in less than 2 minutes, I was sitting in front of this church. And it was after turning into a dark parking lot and coming down a side road that I didn't know where it was leading me to. But it led me to where I needed to go. And I know everybody's not of the same faith tradition, and I respect that. But whatever power guides you and enlightens you, use that power to make some basic determinations about how you want to live your life.
Thank you so much for that.
All right. Sorry.
Yep.
Don't allow your doctor's personal agenda or political agenda dictate what you do. So if you go to your doctor and he tells you don't take the vaccination, in turn ask him, has he taken the vaccination? And if he says no, then you know why he told you not to take it. And she just said, Dr. Neely, she's going to take a grandma approach. Okay, I'm going to take a dad approach. Why did that person tell you not to? Because they didn't. So they're going to tell you to cut your nose to spite your face because their face is ugly. It's not going to work.
Thank you for that follow-up. All right, that ends out round 3. Really quickly, just wanted to plug again, this Saturday, well, one, we're here at Ray of Hope Community Church for those who may have just joined in and are wondering, what is this? This is the 411 on COVID-19 event here at Ray of Hope Community Church. We are located at 2311 Murfreesboro Pike, Nashville, Tennessee, 37217. We have our 2 pastors, our senior pastor, Martin L. Espinosa, and co-pastor, the Reverend Dr. Renita J. Weems. And we are joined here today with 2 esteemed guests from Meharry Medical College here in Nashville, Tennessee, Dr. Neely Williams, as well as Russell J. Ackland Sr. These are experts in the field on the topic of COVID-19. I'm Eric Cox, and I'm the outreach coordinator here at Ray of Hope Community Church. We are here simply sharing information to allow you, inform you, arm you in a way that you're able to make healthier decisions for yourself as well as for your family. Round 4. So far we have covered the myths. Round 2 was questions from the community, which we'll follow up with at the end of this. Round 3 was on an article just talking about the 6 reasons, the big reasons Americans still aren't getting vaccinated. And the 4th round, it's a special round here. This is on the topic of Dr. Christina Parks. So August 23rd, 2021, Dr. Christina Parks, who received her PhD in cellular and molecular biology from Michigan Medical School, made these points during testimony given against requiring vaccine mandates for employees. So I will read some of the quotes that she shared and then have you all just speak to those. So one quote, "The existing vaccines have no ability to prevent infection by and transmission of the Delta variant." So for those who choose not to get the vaccine for this reason, what would you say to that group?
Personally, I would say to that group, it's kind of in line with what Russell said about you have 1 million people who've had the vaccine and you've had so many thousand that has had a problem. I respect Dr. Parks. I have no doubt in her credentialing. As much as I don't have doubt in the credentialing of the thousands of doctors with different areas of specialty that suggests the opposite of what she's saying. So I would just say to you, think about this. One person says one thing, and you have a lot of folks on the other side saying something different. You have to weigh that out in a scale of balance. How would it make what she's saying more factual than what countless of others have not only stated but supported that others have stated, including, as Russell has made a great point for, Dr. Hildreth and Dr. Smoot have given a lifetime to research and to their careers. And there is no way they would be supporting something that is contradictory to the people they serve.
Okay. 2 more statements, quotes from that testimony. Let's see here. So she says, and this is a quote, "Who do they blame? Now the CDC is blaming anti-vaxxers. I suggest they be transparent and tell parents that although it is preventing severe disease in their children, it is not preventing transmission because we have created a whole class of asymptomatic pertussis carriers who are increasing the disease." What would you say to that statement given in terms of the asymptomatic culture we're creating?
Again, sometimes we have to ask ourselves, what is this person's agenda? What is this person's approach? Because she may be in line with the groups that said, hey, we don't need to wear masks. She may be in line with the groups that say, hey, open the country back up because the economics are failing us right now. So the same way she's saying those things, she can look at the numbers in Tennessee and see we're still going up. So how does what your statement said correlate to Tennessee, whose numbers are still in the top 10 across the country a year later after quarantining?
Mm-hmm.
I'll follow up with that, Dr. Williams.
I really don't have anything more that I can add to that. You do need, there are some things that you need to look at when you look at your information. And one of them is biases. Think about what is the bias of the person that is giving you that particular information. So it could be a religious perspective. It could be a political agenda. It could be major things. I believe that I don't want to quote this incorrectly, but I think this is the same young lady who stopped her work to go home and raise her children and do homeschool them. And to me, that just kind of gave me a red light and some insight to her psychological perspective about vaccines in general. And it is some understanding that she does not have a great respect for any vaccine. So, and that's another one of those perspectives that might cause someone to draw these conclusions because they are not based on science. The existence of vaccines have the ability. There's no no support for that vaccines don't prevent the infection and the transmission of the Delta virus. That doesn't make sense. When vaccines came out, the numbers went down. It's only after this latest variant that it has taken a turn for in the opposite direction. But we were on a path to get past this pandemic when another variant came. We don't know what's going to happen next, but we know what we have right now. And what we have right now is a need to get every person possible vaccinated in this country to create a herd immunity kind of situation that will cause the likelihood of not passing this from one to one. And so with this new variant, where there's highly more likely that you can infect a lot more people, we don't know that the 70% is enough anymore. We think that's good range, but we may need even higher level than that. And as Rosa said numerous times this evening, we are a long ways from that in Tennessee. And in some counties, we are even farther from it than we are in our metropolitan areas. Right. And that's important to know.
All right. Mm-hmm. We will end out, so I'm looking at the time now. This has been a good, healthy conversation, and a lot of people have been informed. But I do want to end out on just a couple questions that came in from social media. So for those who are watching on Facebook Live or YouTube, so just two questions I want to tackle. One is in relation to the flu vaccine. So the question is, should we take our flu vaccine after having the vaccine for COVID-19?
Absolutely. Please take your flu vaccine. Take your flu vaccine. If you're over a certain age, have your shingles vaccine, your pneumonia vaccine, all those things that your doctor has recommended for you, your primary care provider. You have a relationship with them. They have a history of your medical records and of all the medical events that have happened in your life. And the flu is something that changes every year. So that's why we take a vaccine yearly. Their new vaccine is always geared toward the one virus that's coming into the flu realm that appears to be the most prevalent for that time. There are years when we miss it, when the vaccine is created for one variant of the virus for the flu, and it actually becomes another one become more dominant. But even then, the flu vaccine lessens the impact of the flu. It doesn't mean you won't get the flu, but let me tell you, if you've ever had the flu, you know you don't want the flu. And you know whatever you can do to have as little of it as you can get, you are happy to do that. So, and then we don't know the long-term impact, even of the flu and pneumonias and things like that. These are things that drain on the body and takes away the ability of the body to rejuvenate and to continue to do its job. It is miraculously and wondrously made. It is absolutely true. And if we will follow the instructions that we get that can help to continue that process, we'll be much better off.
Beautifully answered. Thank you. Last question of the night, and thank you all for staying with us past the hour here. But the final question is about the booster shot that's being recommended. How important is it will it be available this Saturday to us that are there at the church? So the church event, again, this coming Saturday will be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., where we will be providing on-site vaccinations at Ray of Hope Community Church. So to that question in regard to the booster shot, how important is it? Will it be available?
The reports are stating that the booster is important because so many variants are being created. We have a Delta variant. There's another Mu variant. So the booster is being put in place. So if you're 8 months ago got the shot and your body's still trying to fight these new variants, you got a vaccination for an old variant. So now we need to get you something for the newer variant. Saturday, we will be able to do the booster for immune compromised people. There's a list that we carry, and if you fall under that list, then we can give you that booster, because if your body's compromised anyway as far as making antibodies and things of that nature from a pre-existing condition, then we definitely need to get that to you so you can beef up your body and have a better fight against this.
So just for that population?
Yes.
So with that
Yes. If I'm not mistaken.
Folks over 65 also.
65 and older.
Okay.
Okay.
65
so
and
they're
older.
trying to get it out for the regular public, but they keep going tug of war with it. Again, what's your agenda? What's your agenda? We don't know. So just as soon as they tell us, because we had planned on allowing people to be able to get it starting on this past Monday. And then this weekend, right before everybody was about to do it, they came back and said, no, we're not ready to do it. We're not ready to do it. Mm-hmm. So we're just on the fence with government guidelines on when it can actually be done.
Gotcha. Okay. Just for those who do plan to come to the event on Saturday, is there anything they should bring with them?
ID.
Mm-hmm.
So just ID.
It is self-reported. You don't have to prove you have those particular things, but let me tell you, the 4 major things that make us susceptible to this virus are high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes, and obesity. Now, those are the 4 major reoccurring elements that are part of those that are becoming very ill. And most of us in our community can check one of those boxes or more.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all so much for the viewers. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for staying past the hour. Thank you to our guests. Thank you, Dr. Neely Williams, and also Russell J. Ackland Sr. Thank you, Meharry Medical College, for allowing this. Again, we will be here. We're at Ray of Hope Community Church now, and we will be here on Saturday, September the 25th, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. We're accepting walk-ins to 2 p.m. 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. here at the church. On-site vaccinations. We'll be offering the Meharry Medical College will be offering the Johnson & Johnson single shot, and then the Pfizer. So that is all. That concludes the night. Thank you all so much for joining us. This will be available once we share it. So share with your networks. You all be blessed.
I'm stubborn at heart, quick to put up a guard. Do it all by myself. I won't ask for help. Sometimes my mouth is smart. I can be insecure. Counting other people's blessings. Never stop to notice what I got. Some days are better than others. I can be up and I'm down. But beyond my mistakes, I'm found in your grace. And this one thing will never change. You still love me. In spite of me, you still